As I said at the top of the program, we're going to focus today on school funding in North Carolina and the challenges too many counties in our state face when it comes to adequate funding. Education Matters went on the road and visited Snow Hill, North Carolina in Greene County and sat down with Superintendent Dr. Patrick Miller. Take a look.
Here in Greene County, we want our children to have every available opportunity to get a great education and to be able to go on and be very productive citizens for this great state. And we have to really work hard to make every dollar stretch here. And I think we do a good job of that. But sometimes just the lack of resources does not allow us to provide some things that some of the wealthier districts are able to provide. So when you compare one of the wealthier counties in the state, say an Orange County, to a Greene County, Orange has a per pupil expenditure that exceeds $4,300. Greene is around $700 per student, and if you subtract those two numbers, you'll get around $3,600. Multiply that by the number of students in Greene County, 3,150, and you'll get a number in the vicinity of $11,500,000, and that's in a place like Greene County. $11.5 million is a lot of money. We receive low wealth money and we receive small county supplemental funding, and between those two funds we get about $3.6 million a year. The scare is that the cutoff to receive small county supplemental funding is 3,200 students. We're at 3,149 as of the 10-day count, so we're 51 students away from beginning to phase out the small county supplemental funding, which over a 5-year period would mean a loss of $1.5 million. And we would love to be able to hire more teachers and more teacher assistants to work directly with the kids. A lot of kids here coming out of a background of poverty need extra assistance, and we know what these kids need, and sometimes we just can't afford what it is that they need to help them be successful. The free and reduced lunch percentage last year in Greene County schools in K-5 was 81%. And this year we don't really have a specific number because we qualify for the community eligibility provision, which means that all students in the county now, regardless of income, receive free breakfast and free lunch. I'm very proud of the teachers and the students in this county. Everybody works really hard, and we work really hard for the children so that they can have, like I said, every opportunity to be successful. We think we do a pretty good job with what we've got, but if something was done to address this issue at the local level, we could probably do a whole lot more.
Joining us to talk further about the funding issues we just heard about is friend of the program, Ann McColl. Ann is an attorney here in Raleigh with Everett, Gaskins, and Hancock, and she has a lot of experience in education law matters, education finance issues. So thanks for being here today.
Glad to be here.
Now, you heard Dr. Miller talk about the low wealth funding, the supplemental funding. What is the history there? Why were those created in the first place?
So the low wealth was created back in 1993 with the help of the Public School Forum to address this issue of poorer counties not having the resources that they needed. And so we think of it being a state right to education, and so the state's the one who has the obligation to make it happen. And so the state, as a part of that obligation, created the Low Wealth Fund. And it helps, without any question, it helps. But it's not enough to address the inequities that we see across the state.
Right. I mean, you heard Patrick talking about he just used Orange County as an example, which we often do because it's at the sort of top of the scale. But those gaps still exist even with a county. I mean, Greene's one that gets both, right? So we've actually not only seen that, but seen it grow. That's
right. So North Carolina has some things in its favor. We have a taxing system that makes it so that 60+%, 62% of the money for public education comes from the state. That's better than in other states around the country, but it's not enough. Part of it is that we simply don't put enough resources into our education system. Our effort as a state, we get an F when we are compared to other states around the country. And then on the equity issue, even though the state puts in more than in some other states, in terms of percentage, the amount of money isn't enough.
Right. Now, I'm curious, and you've been involved pretty directly in the Leandra case. We mentioned that a lot, and if you're in education circles, you understand it. The state Supreme Court found that we didn't have, we weren't meeting our obligation, yet we're still there. I mean, so
That's right. So the state Supreme Court has said every child has an equal opportunity to a sound basic education, no matter where they live. We also know that the state has said that part of their remedial plan is to provide pre-K to every child who is eligible for it. And across the state, we have waiting lists. You can even go onto the websites and it'll say you aren't entitled to this because there may not be enough funding. That's a failure to meet a mandate.
Right. Well, I hope you'll stick around with us because we're going to talk further with our next guest, Philip Price, who is with the Department of Public Instruction, when we come back.
Great.
Now, first, we're going to, before we go to break, see if you can answer this question. In 2013-2014, the 10 North Carolina counties that spent the most per student averaged $2,916. What was the average for the bottom 10 counties?